You're listening to WEEU Radio, broadcasting at 830 on the AM dial from Reading, Pennsylvania. I'm Jingle Schnutz, the WEEU Holiday Festival of Sound Elf. Have a great time with you during this holiday season. And now, more of our Holiday Festival of Sound.
Yes, indeed. You are listening to WEEU Radio's Holiday Festival of Sound. I'm WEEU's Dave Kline, wishing you, on behalf of everyone here at the station, a happy holiday season and a prosperous new year ahead. Back a little bit in 2005, I was asked to serve as the Master of Ceremonies for the Berks County Senior Citizen Orchestra's holiday concert at the Sheraton Reading. There was a large audience. They were very appreciative because the orchestra did a magnificent job under the leadership of Mark Schneiderhand and Albert Leader. What we're going to do now is go back in time and join that concert event live as I introduce Mr. Albert Leader and an original composition he wrote in honor of community leader Albert Boscov. Our conductor right now is also a composer, and you're going to get to hear an original work by him right now. It's a work in appreciation to the great work that Mr. Albert Boscov has done in our community, and it is dedicated to Mr. Albert Boscov, and it is to celebrate Hanukkah. As I said, written by our own Mr. Albert Leader, the original composition called Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah from Rabbi Yosef Lipsker at Congregation Shomer HaBrith. Hanukkah is the festival of lights. It's the time that we take the menorah, the Chanukiah, and sit it out right at a window or at a door, and we illuminate not only our inside, our home, but also the dark, cold outside. But the other aspect to Hanukkah is also the internal light, and that everyone ignites that internal light, celebrating the holiday of Hanukkah. So I want to wish everyone a happy Hanukkah, illuminating the outside and also the inside. Of course, it's always nice to greet everyone in Hebrew, so I want to wish everyone shalom and happy Hanukkah. Hanukkah Sameach lekulam, l'chogeg b'yachad, v'chag Sameach.
All right. I never grow tired of this. And we have Mark Schneiderhan back out here. He is a man that apparently also has a real wonder and zest for life, because in getting to know him over the past couple seasons, but especially this season as we prepared for this show, I can tell you he's a man that never says quit. He is not a quitter. This man, if I were climbing a mountain with this man, he'd be the guy when all good sense had passed by would say, no, we're going to press on to the summit. We're not going to quit. We're going to do it. That's the kind of guy Mark Schneiderhan is. So I appreciate you, Mark, very, very much. And as I said, the little boy in me never grows tired of telling this tale. I, as many of you have, always read it to my children. It's the poem by Clement Seymour, The Night Before Christmas. Always read it to my children until they didn't want to have it read to them anymore. And that's at the phase we're at right now. But I suspect at some point there'll be some grandchildren that come along that will soon grow tired of me reading it to them as well, because I'm going to read it and read it to them as I'm going to read it to you right now with the orchestration in the background. What I want you to do is that little inner boy or girl that's inside of each and every one of you now, just go back. Remember those most magical times of Christmas, and when someone may have read this to you, and try to think about what it felt like way back then as we now perform for you The Night Before Christmas. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled, all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mama in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the luster of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer, with a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer, and Vixen. On Comet, on Cupid, on Donder, and Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky. So up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with the sleigh full of toys and St. Nicholas too. Then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was rolled up in a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth. And the smoke, it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying his finger aside of his nose and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team, gave a whistle. And away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all!" And to all, a good night. And there you have it, The Night Before Christmas, as read by yours truly, WEU's Dave Kline, and performed by the Berks County Senior Citizens Orchestra, with an average musician's age of 75, under the baton of Maestro Mark Schneiderhan.
Reading Musical Foundation is Berks County's strongest advocate for music in our schools, and you can make it stronger. I'm Randy Shaler, CEO of Zezwitz Music. Zezwitz is proud to support Reading Musical Foundation's Operation Replay. RMF gathers musical instruments from donors like you around Berks County and turns them into new musical opportunities for young musicians who otherwise couldn't afford to play music. Join me and hundreds of others who invest in the future of music in Berks County with RMF, Reading Musical Foundation, for the love of music.
Hello, this is Dave Langley, and you're listening to WEU's Holiday Festival of Sound, a nostalgic, musical, and narrative celebration of the season, featuring the talent of your friends, co-workers, neighbors, and family in and around our community. The recordings you'll enjoy during this broadcast have been made right here in our own community, at local concert halls, schools, theaters, and right here at WEU's studios at 34 North 4th Street in Reading, Pennsylvania. WEU's Holiday Festival of Sound is brought to you by the Reading Musical Foundation, and we'll be right back with our show after this word from the RMF.
Next, here is the Berkshire Brass with some sounds of this holiday season.
In addition to the wealth of musical talent in our community, we're also rich in an abundance of artists, dancers, poets, actors, and actresses, and the community theaters that they perform in. Hello and Merry Christmas to you. This is WEEU newsman Len Carmen. News on radio, television, print, and other formats keeps us informed and helps us to form opinions. Editorial comments often provide much-needed leadership in a community. Our next guest is no stranger to editorial comment and our local theaters. Here now to offer a dramatic reading of one of the world's most famous holiday editorials, Mr. Chuck Gallagher.
In 1897, an 8-year-old girl asked her father, "Daddy, is there a Santa Claus?" Well, Dad, not wanting to get caught up in that, suggested that she, Virginia O'Hanlon, write to the editor of the New York Sun newspaper. What follows is her letter to the editor, and probably one of the most notable responses in terms of an editorial, this one written by Francis P. Church. It's entitled, "Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus."
Dear Editor, I am 8 years old. Some of my friends say there is no Santa Claus. Papa says if you see it in the sun, it's so. Please tell me the truth. Is there a Santa Claus? Virginia O'Hanlon, 115 West 95th Street, New York, New York.
Virginia, your little friends are wrong. They have been affected by the skepticism of a skeptical age. They do not believe except they see. They think that nothing can be which is not comprehensible to their little minds. All minds, Virginia, whether they be men's or children's, are little. In this great universe of ours, man is a mere insect, an ant, in his intellect, as compared with the boundless world about him, as measured by the intelligence capable of grasping the whole of truth and knowledge. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. He exists as certainly as love and generosity and devotion exist, and you know that they abound and give to your life its highest beauty and joy. Alas, how dreary would the world be if there were no Santa Claus. It would be as dreary as if there were no Virginias. There would be no childlike faith then, no poetry, no romance to make tolerable this existence. We should have no enjoyment except in sense and sight. The external light with which childhood fills the world would be extinguished. Not believe in Santa Claus? Oh, you might as well not believe in fairies. You might get your papa to hire men to watch in all the chimneys on Christmas Eve to catch Santa Claus. But even if you do not see Santa Claus coming down, what would that prove? Nobody sees Santa Claus, but that is no sign that there is no Santa Claus. The most real things in the world are those that neither children nor men can see. Did you ever see fairies dancing on the lawn? Well, of course not. But that's no proof that they are not there. Nobody can conceive or imagine all the wonders that are unseen and unseeable in the world. You tear apart the baby's rattle and see what makes the noise inside. But there is a veil covering the unseen world which not the strongest man, not even the united strengths of all the strongest men that ever lived, could tear apart. Only faith, poetry, love, romance can push aside that curtain and view and picture the supernal beauty and glory beyond. Is it all real? Ah, Virginia, in all this world there is nothing else real and abiding. No Santa Claus. Oh, thank God he lives and lives forever. 1,000 years from now, Virginia, nay, 10 times 10,000 years from now, he will continue to make glad the heart of childhood.
This is WEEU's Dave Kline. Hello again. We hope you're enjoying our Holiday Festival of Sound thus far. Next, we take a few minutes to bring to life one of Yuletide's most famous characters, Good King Wenceslas. No mere fable, King Wenceslas was indeed a real man who impacted the weary world with his generosity and kindness. Now here to share the real story of Good King Wenceslas is Berks County native John Henry Funk, a veteran opera singer, a mentor and teacher at the famous Belmont Hill School of Massachusetts, a long-standing patron of the arts, and a contributor of his time and talent for organizations in our community such as the Reading Symphony Orchestra and the Reading Musical Foundation. How wonderful to now have John Henry Funk grace our airwaves with his reading of the real story of Good King Wenceslas, which was originally recorded in October of 2004, high atop Reading's scenic Mount Penn at famous Stokesay Castle, in keeping with the spirit of the tradition of the story. We now offer Mr. John Henry Funk and good King Wenceslas.
The legendary generosity and charity of good King Wenceslas of Bohemia is no mere Yuletide fable. The young prince lived a life fraught with conflict and tragedy. Both his mother and grandmother, victims of court intrigue and anti-Christian conspiracy, were murdered when he was young. He himself was the object of several assassination attempts and revolts, and yet, despite such adversities, he was a model Christian regent. He reformed the penal system. He criminalized abuse of children and outcasts, and he exercised great compassion on the poor. His royal grandparents, Borivoy and his queen Ludmila, were converted and baptized, despite the strong opposition of a number of noble Czech families who wished to maintain their control over the pagan cults. Borivoy and Ludmila had a son, Radoslav, who ultimately ruled the realm in their stead. A compromise with those powerful families designed to preserve the tenuous peace. In time, he married Drahomira, daughter of the chief of the Valetians, a Slav tribe from the north. Together, they had twin sons, Wenceslas and Boleslas. Wenceslas was raised by his godly grandmother, Ludmila, while Boleslas remained with his mother and father in the court. And as a result, the future king was not only raised as a Christian, he was able to witness firsthand the sacrifices believers had to undergo, apart from all the political intrigue of the royal court. And when Wenceslas was still young, his father died in battle. His mother, Drahomira, served as the regent for her sons. Alas, she was greatly influenced by the powerful pagan families still in Bohemia, and she allowed a series of fiercely anti-Christian policies to be implemented throughout the land. But during the persecutions that broke out, Ludmila was assassinated while she was praying. And though still an adolescent, Wenceslas found support from the common people. And after months of struggle, Drahomira was driven out, and Wenceslas was made ruler. He straightway announced the initiation of scriptural standards of justice and mercy, without prejudice, to all within the kingdom. The little kingdom prospered under the young king's benevolent rule. At peace with their neighbors, Wenceslas cultivated friendly relations with the Carolingian Empire by acknowledging Henry as the legitimate successor of Charlemagne in 926. The poor and the needy, the despised and the rejected were the special beneficiaries of the newfound peace and prosperity. Wenceslas understood only too well that God is merciful and just. But he did more than just understand this theoretically. He applied it practically in the administration of his little realm, and the result was that he was deeply loved by his subjects. Wherever he went within the borders of the land, he was thronged by well-wishers. Eventually, the young king married and had a young son. Alas, the acclaim and good fortune became a bit too much for his brother to bear. He became insanely jealous. And to make matters worse, Wenceslas' son would now rule after the king died, and that meant that Boleslas would never have the chance to rule. Thus he decided to join the party of influential pagan nobles that had formed against the crown. Early one morning, as Wenceslas made his way to church, he met his brother. Boleslaus struck him, and they began to struggle. A number of the pagan lords who accompanied Boleslaus ran up and killed Wenceslas, who murmured as he fell upon the chapel door, "Brother, may God forgive you." The common people at once began to acclaim Wenceslas as a martyr. Even miracles were attributed to him. In time, Boleslaus, stricken with guilt and remorse, repented of his terrible deed and had his brother's body translated to the church of St. Vitus at Prague 3 years after his death. The shrine quickly became a place of pilgrimage. Amazingly, Wenceslas, by his death, did what he was unable to do while he was living. He not only ensured the complete conversion of Bohemia, he was able to codify his laws as a standard for Christian civic justice and mercy. And by the beginning of the 11th century, Wenceslas was already regarded as the patron of both the Czechs and the Slovaks, and his example became the pattern for living in light of the Epiphany of Christ in the midst of this poor, fallen world.
Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen, when the snow lay round about, deep and crisp and even. Brightly shone the moon that night, though the frost was cruel, when a poor man came in sight, gathering winter fuel. Hither, page, and stand by me, if thou know'st its telling. Yonder peasant, who is he? Where and what his dwelling? Sire, he lives a good league hence, underneath the mountain, right against the forest fence, by St. Agnes' fountain. Bring me flesh and bring me wine, bring me kind logs hither, thou and I will see him dine, when we bear them hither. Page and monarch, forth they went together, through the rude wind's wild lament and the bitter weather. Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen, when the snow lay round about, deep and crisp and even. Brightly shone the moon that night, though the frost was cruel, when a poor man came in sight, gathering winter fuel. That's the story and song of Good King Wenceslas. John Henry Funk was in his early 80s when that was recorded. What a great piece of Berks County history and nostalgia.
Greetings of the season to you. This is Jack Holcomb. Nature has inspired many things in art, music, and beyond, and our holiday tree decorating traditions are no exception. During this holiday, many folks decorate a fanciful tree with all kinds of ornaments, including various things representing nature. But have you ever wondered about the meanings, traditions, and folklore behind some of these ornaments? For example, hedgehogs are beloved little creatures, both in the wild and as pets. Farmers have long been delighted with these tiny animals since they are helpful in keeping many pestilent bugs in check. Children still marvel at the changes of the darling hedgehog's coat. His coat feels soft when he is gently held in one's hands and stroked. And yet, when he is frightened, he quickly turns into a prickly ball. So the hedgehog ornament reminds us to be gentle and kind to others, and they will return the favor.
Next up, we have a local group for you, and you're going to enjoy their a cappella style of performing. This is Evensong.
O come, 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 all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. Come ye, O come ye to Bethlehem. Come and behold him, born the King of angels. O come, let us adore. O come, let us adore. O come, let us adore. O come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord. O sing, 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 choirs of angels, sing in exultation. Sing, all ye citizens of heaven above. Glory to God, glory in the highest. O come, let us adore. O come, let us adore. O come, let us adore. O come, let us adore him, Christ. He is Christ, the Lord, the Lord, the Lord.
Beautiful a cappella singing by the group Evensong from Reading. Next up, we have the Woodwind Quintet, Fyve, F-Y-V-E, also from Berks County, going to perform for you one that's become a holiday classic. However, it didn't start out that way. It started out in the mind of Dr. Seuss and his How the Grinch Stole Christmas. This is You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch.
This holiday season, let us return to another holiday season. The holiday season that brought joy to Reading in the bleak days of the Great Depression, and in the year that also brought a new voice to Reading, actually new voices. The voices of the announcers on Reading's new radio station, WEEU. It was 1932. Times were tough, but folks were doing the best they could with what they had. And social service agencies did all they could to bring Christmas joy to families hard hit by the economic disaster. Let us revisit that Christmas of 1932. In the words of an article in the Reading Eagle, the week of the big day. Santa Claus paid a premature visit to Reading Wednesday night to make sure that no youngsters would be missed during the holiday season. He was brought here by the Unemployment Relief Organization, which sponsored a party in the City Hall auditorium for little boys and girls who might otherwise have been forgotten on Christmas Day. More than 1,200 children, all from the southern section of the city, were the guests at Wednesday night's party. Tonight at 7:30, there will be a party for boys and girls from the northern section of the town. Mothers and fathers came with their children, and by the time the show was ready to start, the municipal auditorium was holding the largest crowd it has ever seen in its history. Small children occupied the laps of their parents, but even so, hundreds of parents and boys and girls had to stand in the aisles. Oscar Ball, relief worker, was master of ceremonies, and he greeted the audience with the salutation, "Everybody happy?" The answer came with certainty, as hundreds of kiddies chorused a thundering yes. As the shows went on, there were many laughs from happy youngsters. There were clowns, comedians, dancers, singers, and even real-live bears on the program. Fern Todd and two dancing boys opened the bill with some lively stepping. William Snook and his Ramblers, a group of black-faced comedians featuring 9-year-old Jimmy Snook, presented musical numbers that had the crowd keeping time with its feet. The three clowns, Howard Gundrum, Russ Hoffmaster, and Wes Yeager, provoked much merriment with their antics, including some spectacular stunts with a stepladder. They also appeared in a boxing bout that was a circus in itself. Breathtaking are the words to describe the Adagio dance presented by dainty Herberta Jacobi and Paul Kern. With Rodney Keffer acting as announcer, 5 little girls staged a tiny tot review. These girls, Emmy Lou Drexel, Mary Jane Leupold, Marion Menser, Clara Lou Hale, and Betty Heiser, appeared in song and dance numbers. Andy's Performing Bears got a real hand from the crowd, although many of the smaller youngsters in the front row huddled closer to their parents when Miss Marie Binger started putting them through their paces. She made the bears, led by a 500-pound Alaskan, sit on chairs, push coaches, ride rocking horses, and do other tricks. It took Santa Claus, however, to stop the show completely when that old gentleman, played by Bob Steyer, appeared on the stage with loads of toys. Thunderous applause rocked City Hall. Small children who had fallen asleep in the arms of their parents were awakened by the pandemonium, but when they saw that Santa Claus had arrived, they clapped their hands too. As the children filed past the stage, Santa and his relief aides handed each little boy or girl a toy. Some got dolls, others received tricycles, baby coaches, fire engines, automobiles, scooters, rocking horses, games, etc. In addition, each child was presented with candy, oranges, and pretzels, the gifts of local businessmen. "Look what I got, Johnny," or "What did you get, Mary?" was repeated time and time again as happy youngsters, faces wreathed in smiles, crowded City Hall corridors. Right then and there, some children started playing with their toys. Autos were shoved along the tiled hallway, and on the stairway sat a little girl rocking her new dolly to sleep. Music for the show was presented by volunteer musicians of the local union. When time came for curtain to go up, it was discovered there was no pianist on hand. So Mrs. Marguerite Voss, supervisor of home relief, saved the day. Well, she sat down at the keyboard and the show went on. The other musicians were Lester Bingaman, Roy Wolfskill, Elwood Becker, Stanley Grubb, Edward Kirshner, and Mary Jane Kasser. While the show was plenty of fun for the youngsters, it meant hard work for some people. For instance, there was a group of 6 men who worked from 2 to 11 o'clock transporting the toys from the YWCA, where the dollies and autos and scooters had been reconditioned. They stored them in the Detective Bureau at City Hall, and when Santa appeared, carried them to the stage. These aides were Leroy Fulmer, Holmes Hall, Nathan Raymer, Charles Matz, John Jablowski, and John Miller, former city policeman. There was a group of relief workers, including William Kreischer, Paul Logman, George Thomas, R.J. Felgren, Edward Heer, and Joseph Barry, who acted as ushers and endeavored to keep the children orderly. Another group of relief workers, Emily Yoakum, Hilda Bull, Stella Hawk, and Mrs. Ella N. Moyer, helped Santa hand out the toys. Last of all, there were members of the committee, Neil Morrison, chairman, and Miss Mary Zarnecki, who dashed about madly seeing that everything went off on schedule. The third member of the committee, Mrs. Jean Erlacher, was home ill in bed and could not attend. Because of the mob of youngsters that attended that first party, a shortage of toys for tonight's party developed. Mrs. Voss issued an SOS for additional contributions of toys so that no child will be missed in tonight's program. And that SOS proved successful. Many toys arrived at City Hall. Many more children from the northern section of town came and enjoyed themselves. They met Santa, they got a show, they got some toys, and they got some relief from the Great Depression of 1932.
We're pleased that you can spend some time with us this holiday season, and we thank the Reading Musical Foundation for helping to present this special holiday broadcast featuring your friends, neighbors, family, and other fellow Berks Countyans. This is our hometown get-together, a celebration of local talent. Our next performers are veteran vocalists, and they're going to entertain you with their female barbershop quartet style of music. Here's the group known as Hot Off the Press and their rendition of Carol of the Bells.
Hark how the bells, sweet silver bells, all seem to say, throw cares away. Christmas is here, bringing good cheer to young and old, meek and the bold. Ding dong, that is their song, with joyful ring, all caroling. One seems to hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, how they pound, raising the sound, o'er hill and dale, telling their tale. Gaily they ring, while people sing songs of good cheer. Christmas is here. Merry, merry, merry Christmas. Merry, 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 merry Christmas. On they sing, down without end, their joyful tone to every home. Hark how the bells, sweet silver bells, all seem to say, throw cares away. Christmas is here, bringing good cheer to young and old, meek and the bold. Ding dong, that is their song, with joyful ring, all caroling. One seems to hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, how they pound, raising the sound, o'er hill and dale, telling the tale. Gaily they ring, while people sing songs of good cheer. Christmas is here. Merry, 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 merry Christmas. Merry, 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 merry Christmas. On they sing, dawn without end, their joyful tone to every home. Hark how the bells, sweet silver bells, all seem to sing, throw cares away. Ding dong, ding dong.
Here's a recording we have in the studio from the Reading Choral Society. The CD is called Celebration of Light. It was recorded on Sunday, December 11th, 2011 at the Emmanuel Lutheran Church of Pottstown. They're going to perform Welcome Yule and O Magnum Mysterium just for you.
Welcome
Hi, this is Dave Kline, and I hope you're enjoying WEEU's Holiday Festival of Sound, brought to you by the Reading Musical Foundation. I'm proud to say that for the past 30 years, I've enjoyed volunteering with the RMF to further its mission of enriching our community through music. Our family has contributed to the RMF to help provide lessons for dozens of guitar and banjo students. If making our community better through music and education appeals to you, please consider doing what so many others have done. Give to the Reading Musical Foundation. It's a gift that gives back in countless ways. And Merry Christmas. Once again on our WEEU Holiday Festival of Sound, it's Reading and Berks County's only ever award-winning Grammy performer. This is David Cullen on his nylon string guitar with his rendition of O Come, Emmanuel, as we interlude and transition into the next hour. I hope you're having a wonderful Christmas Eve. Singing with the band about 3 years ago, and nobody really much had heard of this song. Now, this song is by Lou Monte, so all for my Italiano paisans, okay? All right? Anybody here, right? This is that culture. We have this beauty of ethnicity and culture in Berks County. It's one of the things that makes us rich and strong, and all kinds of culture. So we did Feliz Navidad earlier on. Now you might think with Italiano I might do something like a Buon Natale or Ave Maria. Well, you know, I'm not an opera singer, so I'm not doing that stuff. I'm doing the song that's near and dear to my heart here. This is a donkey song. We did a goat song, so to be fair, you know, to the livestock, we had to do a donkey song. Now, has anybody, this song's called Dominic the Donkey. Has anybody here never heard of this song, Dominic the Donkey? Just shout out, raise your hand. You never heard of it, you never, amazing! When we're done with this song, this too will be a song you're walking around tomorrow singing to yourself, and your neighbors will be like, why? Stop. Okay. So you're part of the song, and don't be bashful, and the louder you do it, the better, because remember, movie camera right over there, okay? And I will put this up on YouTube. It's very easy to find. So your part of the song, it's a simple song. It's a simple part. You go, hee-haw, hee-haw. Believe it or not, that's true. This is all about Dominic, the little Italian donkey. Here we go. I mean, this kind of stuff, my family used to gather around the fireplace and sing at Christmas. They came from Sicily. They were all about food and family and good times and singing. All throughout the year. And you can do there's a la 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 part. Hey, chickadee chink, it's Dominic the donkey. You'll catch on chickadee chink, the Italian Christmas donkey. Here we go. La la la, la 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 la, la la la, la 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 la. Oh my gosh, I even heard some harmony parts in there. That's good. Now Santa's got a little friend. His name is Dominic. The cutest little donkey you will never see him kick. When Santa visits his paisans, with Dominic he'll be, because the reindeer can climb the hills of Italy. Hey, chickadee chick, it's Dominic the donkey. Chickadee chick, the Italian Christmas donkey. Oh, la la la, la 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 la, la la la. Tell you, see that man right back there with the microphone, Mr. Tom Cooper from WEEU Radio? He's broadcasting live all over Berks County tonight, from right here, right now. And people were calling up today asking that we not play this. No, just kidding. That we play this song. So do your hee-haws nice and loud. Here we go. Jingle bells around his feet and presents on his sled. Hey, look at the mayor derby on top of Dominic's head. A pair of shoes for Louis and a dress for Josephine. The label
holidays and compadres will they dance in town until when Santa Nicola comes to town and bring a la cucurella. Hey, chickadee chick, hee-haw, hee-haw. It's Dominic the donkey, chickadee chick, hee-haw, hee-haw. The Italian Christmas donkey, yeah, la 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 la, la 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 la, la la la, la 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 la. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, here we are at the Pagoda Live. New Year's Eve 2014, soon to be 2015. We have one more chance to sing the chorus of this, so let's sing it nice and loud so all the WEEU listeners at home can enjoy it, and everybody around the world on the internet when we post the video can enjoy it as well. They're all